And just like that, we have fire. Hello, welcome to Waypoint Survival. Today, I want to show you a survival shelter that no one knows. Stay tuned. Many people say that it's a good idea to have something like this, a crowbar or flat bar of some sort with you in your bug out bag. And I think that's pretty good advice. Because every once in a while you come across a building like this, an old barn or a house that has fallen in, and it may not be safe in which to spend the night. It might be too close to a road or maybe to other parts of civilization. However, if we can harvest a few pieces of usable tin off of that old building, then we are well on the way to building a substantial structure which is fireproof and windproof and waterproof. Let's get right on that. So now we've got our 4 pieces of tin. They're about 2 feet wide and about 8 feet long. And I've got a relatively flat spot here in a very remote area. And I'm going to use this spot here to build my shelter. The next thing I want to do is I want to find the approximate middle of the piece of tin roofing, and then I want to measure in about 6 inches or so from each end. Now this is what's called 5V siding because it has 5 V's across the top. Of course, that's what gives it its structural strength. Now I'm just going to measure this off by stepping it out. 3 and 4. So right here is about the center, and I'm just going to flatten these V's out. Now, you can do this with your flat bar, you can do it with a stick, or if you can find a rock or something you can use as a hammer, it'll be even better. It's going to be really loud on the camera, so I'm going to go ahead and flatten that center section out, and then about 6 inches in from each side, and I'll get back to you when it's done. So now that I've got this basically flattened in this center section, all I did was flatten out the ridges. What I want to do is take my knee, and I want to try to bend this. Use my foot in that flat spot. What I'm trying to do is to get it to bend in this one area. It's going to take a little bit of work, and you may have to come back in here with your foot. Of course, it's good to wear gloves, but we're trying to get that to bend in that one area. And we want to try to bend fairly straight if we can. Alright, something like that. Alright, now, as you can see, we got the first part of our shelter up. And now we need to just bend the bottom piece down here. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit, kind of like that. A little bit of an angle. And that'll become important here in just a little bit. Alright, we've got the first part of our shelter up. I've got to do the same thing to the other 3 pieces of tin, and I'll show you how to fit them together. Okay, so we've got our first one up. We're going to pull it back a little bit because we don't want it that close to the tree, because we probably want to have a fire in front of it. Alright, and of course, this being old metal, you can kind of shape it and bend it to what you want. Now where these grooves fit, right here, this is where you want to overlap your other sheet of metal so that it keeps the rain from blowing inside. So we're going to take our next piece, open it up, set it on top, and overlap it, just like this, making sure that those match up, just like that. And now we simply continue the process and add the 2 other pieces of metal. And just like that, you have a great survival shelter that is waterproof, windproof, it's fireproof, and it's going to last for a lot of years. And it probably took me, not including getting the tin, maybe 10 or 15 minutes to build. It's very efficient. However, remember, we bent the sides up. Let me show you what that's for. The reason that we bent the sides down was so that we could place heavy rocks along the bent edges of the tin. So this is the one side, and then here's the other. You can see what that looks like. And yes, there are some gaps in the tin. It's not perfect. However, when you look inside, you see a nice shelter. And because of the way it's lapped over, it's going to shed the rain real well. It's plenty big enough for me to get into quite easily and lay in just like this. And I've got plenty of room at my feet. So actually, there is plenty of room for even some gear at my feet, and I could always stack some more debris or another piece of tin at the end to keep the wind from blowing through. However, with this kind of shelter, because of the way it's made, you never have to worry about it catching fire. So we can have a fire right here and really warm up the interior of this shelter. So I know some people are going to say, how can you say that that's a survival shelter that no one knows? Well, for good reason. First of all, I've never seen anybody do this. And I looked and I searched on YouTube and Google, which are the two most powerful search engines in the world. I couldn't find anything like it. And for the other reason, I invented this when I was a teenager. We had some old metal laying around, and so I built myself a survival shack just like that. I don't even remember how old I was, probably my early to mid-teens. So that puts it a good 30 to 35 years ago. Well, one thing's for sure, it's getting pretty chilly. I'd sure like to have a fire right there. Let's see if we can make that happen. And just like that, we have fire. It's really nice. You can feel it warming up the shelter. This is a great option for a long-term survival shelter that'll last quite a while. I'd say you get 5 or 10 years out of something like this. This is James Bender for Waypoint Survival. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also make sure and check out the links in the description box below. And while you're down there, you'll also find our waypointsurvival.com link. And this is where you can sign up to take great survival and bushcraft training classes here at our training facility in Southern Ohio. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, make sure and press that bell button so that you can stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.